it be covering her Cheshire Cat grin and cackle when asked about releasing onerous federal clamps on domestic energy production, or covering her flip and fatuous claim that the United States military ought to go all electric, or covering her new support for Ford's former top EV lobbyist to join her as a top tax-paid advisor, attempting to report on U.S. Secretary of Energy Jennifer Granholm makes the term peeling the political onion an understatement. As time passes, those who've wondered about her asinine authoritarian positions, her sketchy history as Michigan governor between 2003 and 2011, and her sketchy investment history, well, we've been faced with more and more to question. And now, many of those questions are finally getting some national attention. Hi everyone, I'm Gardner Goldsmith for MRC-TV, and here's the story. Zachary Stieber reports for the Epoch Times, quote, "A top official in President Joe Biden's administration has admitted to lying to Congress when she claimed not to own individual stocks. Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm, a Biden appointee, told the Senate Energy and Natural Resources Committee on April 20th that she did not own individual stocks, instead owning mutual funds. Granholm said in a letter on June 9th to Senator Joe Manchin, Democrat of West Virginia, that she was not truthful during the Capitol Hill appearance. I mistakenly told the committee that I did not own any individual stocks, whereas I should have said that I did not own any conflicting stocks," Granholm wrote in the missive, which was obtained and reviewed by the Epoch Times. And this is bigger than it might first appear. This from RNC Research. Quote, "In April, Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm told Senator @Hawley M.O. under oath that she did not own individual stocks. She was lying. Today, Granholm admitted she did, in fact, own stock in multiple companies, including Ford, which falls directly in her jurisdiction."
Do you own individual stocks, Madam Secretary?
No, I'm invested in mutual funds.
Good. So this report from CNBC last year that said that you violated stock disclosure law 9 times, that's not accurate?
I did fail to file a report in my first year that I thought was supposed to be filed at the end of the year and had to have been filed 3 months earlier. So I was late. That was a...
And you don't own any individual stock now, so maybe you did when you first came and you converted them to mutual funds?
This was, it totally was the sale of what I had because I'm not owning individual stocks.
And it gets even bigger. This is not the first time she mistakenly didn't report required details about her investments and stock sales. Shifting from her post as Michigan governor to her slot as Energy Secretary, where she could harangue us for using gas stoves and incandescent light bulbs, Granholm in 2021 got very little exposure for violation of the 2012 Stop Trading in Congressional Knowledge Stock Act. And that included big sales of U.S. COVID policy-based pharma stock and more, totaling nearly $250,000 in 2021. As Business Insider reported in January of 2022, quote, "Granholm, one of the Biden administration's highest-ranking officials whose personal finances have come under previous scrutiny, reported making 9 stock trades between April 30th, 2021 and October 26, 2021. But she disclosed these trades to the Office of Government Ethics on December 15th, 2021 and December 16th, 2021, either weeks or months past a 30-day disclosure deadline prescribed by the Stop Trading on Congressional Knowledge Act of 2012. Granholm's stock sales involved shares of biopharmaceutical firm Gilead Sciences Incorporated, a major government contractor and maker of COVID-19 treatment Remdesivir, mobility service Uber, and real estate company Redfin. Yeah, very, very classy. But as troubling as those moves have been, Questions about her investments and possible benefits from political positions go much deeper than that. In fact, they go back to 2009, the Obama Rhino Troubled Asset Relief Program, the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, and bailouts of automakers such as General Motors. At that time, then Michigan Governor Granholm lobbied hard for GM and its big union powers to get the nearly $50 billion in direct federal bailout cash and years of absolution from corporate taxes worth added billions that GM got from the feds. Then, in 2011, GM invested $6 million of its federally padded budget in a California-based electric vehicle company called Proterra. And guess what corporation brought Granholm onto its board in 2017? Yeah, that's right. Here's part of Proterra's press release from March of 2017. Quote, today Proterra, the leading innovator of heavy-duty electric bus transportation, announced that Jennifer Granholm, former Attorney General and two-term governor of Michigan, has joined its board of directors. Well, folks, as Leslie Nielsen's hilarious Detective Frank Drebin of the Police Squad and Naked Gun films used to say, nothing to see here! Or perhaps there was and is something to see. Breitbart reported as far back as November 2021 that the Granholm-Proterra relationship appears to be larger than just the initial appearance of board-placing favoritism and thanks for the GM-tied boost. It has to do with stock options. Quote, President Joe Biden's Energy Secretary, Jennifer Granholm, is the subject of an ethics complaint for promoting, in her role as a member of the executive branch, an electric bus company she sat on the board of and held over $1 million of stock in. Granholm, who oversees moving the country toward an electric vehicle transportation system and enjoys newfound powers after the passage of Biden's infrastructure package, is facing scrutiny for promoting Proterra, a Burlingame, California-based electric bus company she sat on the board of and held 240,520 shares of stock in, which garnered her $1.6 million when she finally divested them 157 days after her nomination. And there's more. Granholm's promotion of the Burlingame, California electric vehicle company came at the same time that Democrats in Congress were crafting and ultimately passing Biden's $1.2 trillion infrastructure package, which dramatically increases Granholm's authority as energy secretary to advance private sector companies in the transition to an electric vehicle-based transportation infrastructure. The infrastructure package, which has been promoted by Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, Granholm, Biden's Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg, and other members of the administration, grants as much as $174 billion to green vehicles and $45 billion to zero-emission buses, as they call them, to replace 50,000 diesel transit vehicles and electrify at least 20% of our yellow school bus fleet, and to build a national network of 500,000 EV chargers by 2030. The California-based Proterra stands to benefit greatly from this Biden administration electric vehicle investment. It is perhaps unsurprising then that the Center for Responsive Politics found that nearly 85% of Proterra's employee campaign contributions went to Democrats, including Biden. And there's even more. After serving on Proterra's board for roughly 3 years, Granholm was nominated to be Biden's Secretary of Energy on December 18, 2020, and was later confirmed on February 25th. During her confirmation process, Granholm signed an ethics agreement letter on January 16th in which she promised to step down from the Proterra board and divest her Proterra stock as soon as practicable, but not later than 180 days after my confirmation. Within that months-long period following Granholm's nomination, Proterra's stock price was potentially boosted by her nomination, as well as by the administration's continued hyping of the company at various events. Although the company was not yet publicly traded at the time that Granholm sold her shares, there are indications that the Biden administration's hyping of Proterra benefited the company during this period, as was apparent when the stock of a company merging with Proterra spiked following a Biden event at a Proterra plant in April. And folks, we haven't even reached the core of the effluviant Granholm onion, because the new facet of this June 9th admission to Joe Manchin's Senate Energy and Natural Resources Committee is that she kinda, maybe, sorta wasn't completely open about her investments. Speaking to Manchin's committee in April, Granholm claimed she had divested from assets that could conflict with her duties as part of being confirmed as Energy Secretary, but that she held on to stocks that federal ethics bureaucrats determined wouldn't conflict with those duties. And she now claims that she has sold those stocks in the passing months. Writes Stieber for the Epoch Times, quote, Granholm did not identify the companies. She said they would be identified on her annual disclosure report, which is expected to be available in mid-June. You know, folks, this seems to be a lot of hemming, hawing, and delaying for a political figure who claims to be able to dictate the kinds of light bulbs, stoves, and fuel that we use. One wonders how much more suspicious activity we can see before Granholm takes her tax-fed grin and finally departs. Folks, thanks for watching. Please join us at Rumble where they don't censor us, and please give it the thumbs up and share to as many people as you can think of. We'll be over at MRC-TV waiting for you there. Please visit. And while you're there, check out the MRC Store, where, of course, you can find great items and support the Media Research Center, or you can directly give to the Media Research Center as well in its 36th year in fighting left-wing media bias. You'll also find us on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok, and I can be found on Gab as @Gardner Goldsmith, and on Twitter as @GuardGoldsmith. For MRC TV, thank you again for watching. I'm Gardner Goldsmith.